Hello everyone, welcome back to Widget Wisdom, your go-to place for Flutter development. Today we are diving into the basics of Flutter UI, where you will build your first Flutter interface, understand the widget tree, learn about some basic UI elements, and experience the magic of hot reload. Whether you are a beginner or looking to brush up your skills, this is your starting point. So, Flutter is an open source UI software development toolkit by Google. It's designed to build a natively compiled application for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. It's fast, efficient, and provides a beautiful experience with ease. We will now focus on the building blocks of every Flutter app, widgets. And before move forward, to keep bringing you high quality Flutter tutorials like this, consider supporting the channel by joining our membership. Your support helps me continuing creating in-depth content for you all. Let's quickly set up the environment. First, ensure you have installed Flutter and your preferred IDE, either Visual Studio Code or Android Studio. Once done, let's create a new Flutter project. Open your IDE and here I'm creating a Flutter project named First Flutter UI. Now, open this project. And when you create a new Flutter app, the code comes with some default structure. Let's run the app and see the default Flutter counter example. We will modify this shortly to build our own interface. So this default counter app is working perfectly. Now let's talk about the widgets. So widgets are the core components of any Flutter app. Everything you see on the screen is a widget, text, button, images, etc. anything. Widgets in Flutter structured in a tree hierarchy, where a parent widget can have one or more child widgets. We will start by creating a basic app layout using the Scaffold Widget, which provides a default structure like an app bar and body. Inside the body, we will use a center widget and add a text widget as a child. So, come to the My Home page and from here remove everything. Now, create a new stateless widget as home page and then come to the build method and from here add the scaffold widget. Then for app bar, add the app bar widget. So this app bar have one required parameter, that is title. So add the title, and title needs a text widget. So here add a text widget and let's make the title as first UI. So up until now, we have created app bar using this app bar widget. Now let's create the body for our screen. So here add the body parameter, then here add a center widget. So this center widget will help to placing the child in the center. Now here add the child, and for child, let's add a text widget and here add Hello Flutter. Now, here scaffold is the parent with center as its child, and inside center, we have a text widget. This is the widget tree in action. Now let's save the code and run the application. And now here you can see on the screen at the top we have our app bar which is saying first UI. Then in the center we have a text widget which is saying hello world. So Flutter comes with several core widgets. Let's cover the essentials one. First one we have text widget, used for displaying the simple text. Then we have buttons. Flutter offers multiple types of button like elevated button, raised button, text button, icon button, etc. type of buttons. Then we have column and rows. So these are the layout widget that arranges their children vertically or horizontally. So now let's build a more interactive UI. We will create a column with some text and a button. So from here remove the center widget and here add a column widget. Then add the children property. Now this column needs multiple children to align them vertically. So here we need to add an array. So add that. Then add a text widget which will say welcome to Flutter. Then here add an elevated button. Then elevated button needs two properties. First one is the on pressed to perform some action when button is pressed. Then we have child to show the user that this button is about to what thing. So for time being, let the on pressed be empty, and for child add a text widget which will say click me. So this simple layout displays a piece of text and a clickable button. Now if you save the code and run the application, then you can see we have a text widget and an elevated button at the top of the screen. But let's say you want to make them center. So for that, here at the main axis alignment, property of the column widget, and here add main axis alignment dot center. So this line of code will help to align its child vertical center. Now let's talk about the stateful and stateless widgets. In Flutter, there are two types of widgets, stateless and stateful. Stateless widgets are immutable. Once they are created, they cannot change their state. On the other hand, we have stateful widgets, which can change their state during runtime. So, let's modify our button to change a counter every time it's pressed. We need to convert our widget from stateless to stateful. So you can simply do this by creating a left click and then change the stateless widget to stateful widget. Now, here create a variable as int underscore counter to store the current value. So the initial value is going to be 0. So here assign the 0. Then here create a method to increment the counter value. So here create a method void increment counter, and then inside this method add the set state. So set state is used to update the UI. So whenever user will press on the button, then we will call this method, and then inside this set state we will change the counter value, and then the UI will get updated. So whenever you want to update your UI, you need to use set state. So please add that, and inside set state, here increment the counter value by adding the ++. Now come to the build method, and here modify this text widget as button pressed and then the counter and then times. And now come to the elevated button, and here call the increment counter method from the on pressed. So in this example, set state updates the UI by incrementing the counter whenever the button is pressed. Now if you will save the code and run the application, then if you will press on this button, then you can see our counter app is working perfectly, and this text widget is updating accordingly when we press the button. Okay. Now let's talk about the hot reload. So one of Flutter's standout feature is hot reload. It allows you to see your code changes instantly without losing the app state. This makes the development process faster and more efficient. Let's make some live changes to our UI, like modify the text style and color. So here add the style property and then add the text style widget, and then here add the font size as 24, and let's change the color to colors.blue. Now if you press Command S or Control S on Windows, then you can see the text value is the same, but the style has been changed. Font size is increased and its color is also changed. Now let's explore how to use row and column widgets to create more structured UIs. These widgets are essential for arranging children horizontally or vertically. Like here you can see we have used column widget in which our UI is vertically aligned. Now let's remove this column widget and here add a row widget. Okay. Then add the children, because as like column, children is also take multiple child. So here we need to use children and then array. Now inside this add a column widget, and here add the children, and then add icon widget. So here add icon and then add the phone icon to it, and here add the size as 40. Then below this icon we want to show a text widget. So here add text and then name this icon. So this is phone icon. So here add phone. Now copy this column and add 2 more times and change their icons. Like here add the icon for email, then change the text as email. Then again add an share icon and add the text as share. Now go to the row widget and here sets its main axis alignment to space around. So in the case of column, the main axis is vertical, but in the case of row, the main axis is horizontal. Okay. Now if you save the code and run the app, then you can see on the screen we have a row widget, and inside a row widget we have 3 column widget, and each column widget contains an icon and text. So this example demonstrates how you can combine row and column widgets to create a UI with icons and label. Now let's see how we can use padding and margin widgets. So spacing is a key to make your UI look clean. In Flutter, you can use the padding and margin properties to give widget some breathing space. Remove this row widget and here add a column widget and sets its main axis alignment to center. Then add the children property and here first add padding widget, and for adding the padding we need to use as insets property, so add that. And now inside this you can define multiple type of padding, like if you want to give 0 padding, or if you want to add the same padding for all the side then use all, or if you want to add the padding on specific side then add only, and if you want to add the padding only vertical or horizontal then add the symmetric. So here I want to add the padding to all the sides, so here I'm adding dot all and then add this value. So here I'm adding the padding of 16 from all the side. Then for its child add a text widget which will say the text has padding around it. Okay. Now let's see how we can add margin. So for adding margin we need to use our widget inside a container. Okay. So here add a container widget, then this container have a margin property. So here add margin, and as like padding you can specify where you want to put margin. So here I want a margin of 16 from all the side, so I'm adding 16 edge inset dot all and then 16. Then for child here add a text widget which will say this text has margin around it. Now if you save the code and run the application, then you can see the above text widget have padding of 16 and this below text widget have margin of 16. Now there is one more thing. If you just want to add padding, then using a padding widget is necessary. But if your container having some more properties, then you can assign the padding also from the container. So using these property ensures your UI is not cluttered and has appropriate spacing between elements. Now, another powerful feature of Flutter is the ability to control how widgets are sized in relation to their parent using expanded and flexible. These widgets allow you to manage how much space a widget takes up in a layout. So for example, from the body remove everything and here add a row widget. Then add the children. Then add an expanded widget, and for its child add a container widget and give it a color of red. And for its child give this a text widget which will say red box. Then copy this above widget and add it below one more time and just change the color to blue and text to blue. Now if you save the code and run the application, then you can see the whole available row has been divided into two parts, one for red container and another for blue container. So in this example, these two boxes share equal space in a row using the expanded widget. Flexible works similarly but allows more control over how widget shrinks and grow. Now if you want to make any part of UI interactive, the gesture detector widget allows you to detect gestures like taps, swipes and more. So here add a widget as gesture detector. So here we are dealing with on-tap functionality. So here add the on-tap property, and inside this function here add a print statement that box tapped. And for child add the container widget which will have height and width of 100 and 100 and it have colors.green. Now if you save the code and run the application, and if you tap onto this green container, then you can see in the console we have box tapped message. So in this example, tapping on the green box will trigger a message in the console. You can add another detections on this gesture detector widget like swipes and double tap and long press, etc. So that's it for today's video. Today we have covered how to set up your first Flutter project, learn about the widget tree, build a basic UI, explore stateless and stateful widget, and experience the magic of hot reload. We even built a simple counter app to combine everything. Now that you have got a handle on the basic, I encourage you to dive deeper into Flutter Widget and create more complex UIs. try building your own custom layouts and explore Flutter's extensive widget library. So, if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe to Widget Wisdom and hit the notification bell. Tomorrow I will be back with more tutorials, tips and tricks on mastering Flutter.